Hello, everyone. Welcome back to chess. We're playing 10-5, as we have been all series, against Pavel 06. I have no comment on the opening. I've kind of come to the conclusion that this is fine, and if they try to hang on to it, I don't mind. And in exchange, I hopefully get some center control. Is there anything in this? No, I mean, it attacks the queen. It's supported by the knight, but this kind of shuts it down and doesn't really accomplish much, I think. Well, they don't like to do that, right? That would make you sad to move your F pawn so quickly. I'm okay with trying to provoke that. And then fall back maybe to here. Okay, knight there, yeah. But what about this? Your knight is pinned now, right? You can take, but then I win the knight for just a pawn. I don't think this is right. Oh, well, I mean, okay. I guess I'm a little pinned as well. But I think I can just do this, right? I can't castle because then I don't have enough defenders on this. And it goes here, here. No, sorry. Here, here, and I lose the knight after all. No. I'm not sure. This is very confusing. Let's go with this. It seems like defending my center pawn is important, even if I'm not totally sure what uh, the continuation is. It seems like there's still something good against this knight. This is the move I would be worried about, I think. Well, not really. Hey, knock it off. Let's just develop with... Yeah, okay, sure. Develop the knight. I don't like going into a pin, but I like moving my king a lot less. So this threat is still here. My opponent has been playing moves with enough tempo to stop me doing it. Okay. So here, I guess would be the idea, right? They're trying to deflect my queen or my knight away from the defense of this pawn. It's attacked twice and only defended twice. So if I move either of these pieces, it falls. I think I can do this. It feels very sketchy. Um, I guess there are some problems now, right? The queen forks my king and rook, and then I'm my queen and my king and bishop, and then I'm toast. Well, I'm not toast, am I? I am sort of toast. Okay, this I should have thought this through a little bit harder. I think this is a winning move for black. I'll have this afterward, but I don't know if there's going to be an afterward. And like, I don't know. Maybe it's okay. Just block. If takes, takes, and my king is exposed, but not immediately attacked. And I still have this knight under threat, so if the queen does take the bishop, I sort of break even, right? I just have this really naked king. So I guess like what I'm getting at is that this loses a bishop, and all this stuff I'm saying is like, okay, but if I lose the bishop, I end up gaining the knight back. But the problem is I kind of thought I was winning this knight a while ago, and so I'm like, well, now I lose the bishop. Okay. What about this? Is this not good? What's wrong with that? I mean, I still have this problem. The problem gets worse though. Suppose takes. Now here takes with check, dropping the queen. So if I go in for this, if I'm willing to take the knight, I have to do something other than this to defend when queen comes here. Which might be, for example, king here? The alternative is to move my king somewhere pretty horrible right away, so I think I just go for this and hope I can come up with something. But I continue to believe that I'm getting outplayed here. Mm-hmm. And I can pick up this pawn now if I want. Or I could pile up on it first. Or I could try to develop this file a bit. Planning push someday. I guess if I choose to win this, they just take this one. Which right now is defended sufficiently, but if I took this, it would not be. So I think I kind of like this. Wait. It needed to be this if I wanted to be defending this pawn. Yeah. But I don't know. This is a cool file to be on, I guess. I think it should have been here. This was better. I sort of forgot what the purpose of the rook move was as I was making it. And it was to defend this pawn. I've now sort of equalized, I feel like. This rook is kind of stupid. But my king is now sort of safe. I'm doing okay on material. Here? I'm pretty happy with that, I think. No, I'm not. Is this knight overloaded somehow? Here, queen can't take because this is defended. I think I'm okay with this. Oh, it's with check. That's kind of cool. Oh my god. Pretty... That's a thing, huh? It seems like it must be a mistake from white. There are ways from black. There are ways to survive like this. But I have something like here now. It does like sort of drop this bishop. So that's probably bad, right? But I have so many big threats now. Like here, here. Here? Does this do anything? Not really. Just it's horrible, actually, is what it does. This pawn is pretty weak. He's doing some really cool stuff. The problem is I can't defend him. So I think I just trade him in to ruin black's structure a bit more. Presumably something like, that's not necessary. You could just let it promote and then take it. But I don't know if you want to take that risk. What if I can defend the queening square someday? The bishop's there as well. I think you don't have to do anything about it right now. I suppose this is a plausible next move. To support it, and then there's almost no way it can be captured except over several moves by a knight. Like, no? I'm sort of bad at figuring out knight movements. Here, here, here would do it, I guess. Okay, let's get this bishop to a safer space. I want to have the freedom to move this knight again. But I don't know if here is really good enough. It's still undefended. And there will be some tactics against it someday. But okay, it defends this pawn, which seems like a productive thing to do. And I don't really foresee these pawns trying to shoo me away. They're too important to black's king safety. And we're finally renewing the threat on this pawn. Yeah, that c pawn is pretty scary. It can't promote anytime soon, but it's just like a big nuisance. Oh, by the way, I talked about stuff like this, but of course that gets captured by the pawn, likewise here. So I guess it would be something like that if you wanted to pick it up. All this to say, I guess their knight is actually pretty valuable right now because it's the only thing that could possibly take that pawn. And the pawn is really restricting black's back rank. The rooks can't maneuver as well. So maybe we should be working to do something about that knight. Oh, okay. That's cool. What if I just take your bishop? With check? Seems pretty fun, doesn't it? What's the follow-up? Probably rook here. And then... I don't know. But I like bishops. I'm trying to figure out if there's some trap. I don't really see it. Like, especially when you get to take with check, how bad can it be? Check here to try to force the queens off, which would be very nice for me. Okay. This is kind of a threat now, isn't it? It zeroes in on this pawn and also adds an attacker here. It can be taken, of course, but I have it sufficiently defended. I guess the threat would be like this is the checkmate I'm trying to put together. And in the meantime, we also threaten this pawn. That seems like a useful, like, quote, fork, right? In between a mating attack and a pawn capture. It's tough for them to defend both. So they probably, I don't know. I mean, there's not really a mating. Well, this square is my sensitive spot, I guess. They might try to do something there with their knight and queen. But it takes a few moves. So maybe like this, no. This would be their threatened attack. I think that's how they should rescue the pawn, is by just moving it, because I don't really want to do this. Oh, I don't have to. Bring in the rook. Yeah, that wouldn't work very well, actually. I guess if I pick up their pawn, I'm, like, ceding control of mine a little bit. Depends on what pieces I capture with. I don't have to use this bishop. Unless they actually go in with the queen, which would be fine. Right, here. The queen can't reach. What am I even talking about? I actually could have just picked this up if I'd wanted, instead of attacking it. But I think that getting this going is important also, or useful anyway. It's easy enough to defend like that, but then I get to grab this, so I don't know. And it weakens this rook to do that. But they don't have to do it right away, right? I could go only if I go here do they then actually have to defend. And meanwhile, I've wasted tempo with my queen. So I think maybe this attack is not as threatening as I would have liked, as I thought it was when I moved my bishop here, and it would have been better to just pick up this pawn. There are also rook moves, I guess, like here. What is this about? Trying to get this going, maybe? But doing it in the other order? I don't understand this. You can't be attacking that pawn, surely. You can't really be counting on this, because I could just take it if I want. Nor even... I mean, maybe the idea is... No. Maybe the idea is that you get to here if I'm too busy picking up this pawn. And then you have this threat, right? Like here... Here. But I think I just moved the rook up. That's a little scary. This actually attacks the queen, even. So where's she going to go? Pick this up? I don't care. Yeah. Now, I can't actually take... Oh, I see. I guess that's sort of the idea. She's threatening this. If I my queen my bishop and queen are kind of tied down to each other, but I don't care. Like, you have this, I guess, is a mild threat, but okay, maybe you can pick up my bishop that way, but I don't super mind. This is the only legal move. I really love this pawn right now. This is a place I don't want any rooks to go. So what if I get out of it like this? Attack the king. And then pick up the queen? I'm losing some material. No, I'm not, because this is even guarded by my rook. Yeah, that's a great play. Right? Is there something better, some other way to check the king? There's not really. Well, what about... No, that's pinned. That's illegal. Yeah, let's just go grab the queen. And eventually we want to get a rook here to promote. I guess king here threatens rook here, and I can't defend like this. So we want this to hold the pawn down for a moment. That doesn't work. Because then they can bring the king over in time. Okay. Well, let's keep the king busy. I want to develop a rook, obviously. Maybe I should have just done this. The king isn't actually busy. Mm, feels a little weird, huh? Let's just keep the king out of here for now. I guess he might try that to really weasel in. Doesn't seem that great to me. Lets my pawn get away. Also gives me checks like this. Yeah, I know, but I don't mind. That drops the rook. Um, let's just tie this together and figure out what to do with my time now that I have everything under control. I have a rook and several pawns to work with, and my opponent has nothing to work with. Okay, let's just stop those from deflecting my king. And then the king's cut off, and this promotes. Anytime they push here, I counter like that. There's certainly some check with this, some checkmate with this rook, actually. Maybe I don't need to promote. I don't know. Let's just grab a queen. Let's just make sure the king doesn't get stalemated. He has the whole back rank to play with. I'm a little nervous about messing this one up. Okay, fine. Now I know you're safe. King here. King has to move if... Well, whatever. Just grab queen. No draws, thank you. He still has this square. This is, here. Why don't you come on out? Like, I know I have a million checkmates. I just am scared I'm gonna draw somehow. So promoting to a queen is sort of dangerous in that context. Okay, here we can do something with check now. He still has all these squares. Oh my god, don't run out of time. He still has both of these squares to play with. So don't go here. But this should be fine because he's in check. And then mate. Okay. A slow checkmate, to be sure. But I was trying to be careful, and like I'm not smart enough to figure out mating patterns that involve like kings on my own back rank surrounded by pawns and one rook, you know? So I definitely remember some blunders here. I don't remember what they were, but I remember talking about them as they happened. Ooh, this is a sure sign of weak players. Look how long this endgame was. I feel like endgames shouldn't last that long. Hmm. Okay, well, the opening was, as usual, pretty choppy. And then I had one big mistake in the mid game here. Really, I liked that. My en passant move it hates. I thought that was great. Okay, so this takes me from a winning position to slightly losing if I move my queen there. I can't just take the knight, that's illegal. And I was trying to do this to free myself up to be able to take the knight, I remember. And I was thinking, what about castling? The problem is this now has only one defender and two attackers. So they can just pick it up if they want. Is there some reason that's not true? I don't think so. So there must be something else going on. Or some reason they don't want to win that pawn. Maybe I'm just supposed to deflect the knight first, and then I don't have to worry about that? Then they can't take this after all. It's not really deflecting. You're taking it, but you're removing the attacker of this pawn. I still can't do this, but I solidify control of the pawn somewhat. They probably capture this way because they want to keep this pawn available for a push like this. So, like, is that any good for me? Ugh, God damn it. Arrows. Is that any good for me? It messes up their structure a little. And it frees me up, I guess, to castle instead of this kind of weird developing move. This could be okay, but I don't see myself as being +5 after that. So maybe what I should be thinking about is, like, why is queen here a blunder? What has happened as a result of that? Well, the queen is still being x-rayed by my bishop. This diagonal is more sensitive, but I don't have any way to get there. What else has happened as a result of this? This pawn is undefended? I don't see that as very important. I don't know. I think this is the best thing I can see, and I'm sure it's wrong. It doesn't drop as much as queen here. That's nice to know. Certainly not moving this knight. Maybe, is it castles? It just likes castles. So it says best is for them to pick this up. I sort of see what's going on. By castling, we can make that pawn into a poison pawn, right? If you take it, the knight is pinned. And obviously you don't want to take it with the queen, because then I would just take here. That would be very bad. So here, you say, okay, fine, go ahead. And they're like, well, I guess my knight is... Well, is the knight dead? Why can't they do this? Because then we have... Yeah, why not here? It's pinned! I see. Wow. But if it weren't pinned, I think that would be an okay move. So that's why they can't defend the knight. They have to trade it. And I can't actually take their queen. I am in check. But I get their queen next because it's pinned to the king. Okay. So the signs that make this vulnerable are that the queen is now lined up with the king. And this pawn, which is such a focal point, black is trying to take it. And when they do this, I can say, well, suppose that I let them take this. Suppose this pawn just vanished off the board. No one even captured it. That would be pretty cool, because I could, like, get a rook over here, maybe, right? And that might be how you would find such a move. They win it, but you say, okay, you really want to vacate this square? And, like, no, but they have to. And noticing that this pawn is pinned, I think, is crucial to the whole thing. Because, suppose that we, like, make some nothing moves for a minute. I get my bishop out of the picture to here. And I do my, like, second nothing move here. Now it's actually good for black. right? They have this to defend the knight, and I've just actually lost the pawn. So the entire value of this whole castling idea is that when this knight captures, this pawn, which is needed to defend the knight, is pinned. Oh my god. I don't know. Like, I see how there are sort of some ideas that I should maybe be able to notice, but I definitely am not a skilled enough player to notice all of the details that make this work. Um, and this is actually less losing than if this pawn were able to move, right? So I don't mind so much making this move. It's obviously wrong. But given the limited powers of analysis that I have, not recognizing the importance of this pawn being needed to defend here, I don't mind missing the castling tactic because it's like even finding just the castling part of it would be pretty hard for me. Noticing this is like, forget it. Okay, so they don't like knight blocks. What about this knight blocks? That seems bad. We're dropping this and the bishop becomes vulnerable. This? Yeah, what is wrong with that anyway? That seems fine. Takes, and the bishop is kicked away still. Yeah. That would be definitely better. And it's actually saying second best is to just take this. I don't totally understand why. Oh, interesting. It wants to take with the knight instead of the pawn. Okay, whatever. It hates king takes. It says I was ahead, and this leads to a draw. Was I too focused on this pawn? Oh, there was this whole thing with the bishop here. I ended up actually somehow defending it. I mean, if it doesn't want me to do this, I think it must be this. Ah, you know what? No. That allows, well, that allows something like takes with check if I go with the queen. So I think I just do this. Doesn't like that. Says it's just as bad. I don't like queen takes. I'm supposed to just duck? Give up. Don't take a... Oh, I have a bishop here. He's so far away I didn't see him. Okay, that would be better. It unpins the knight, but that's not that big a deal. It keeps my king from getting absolutely murdered. Yeah, I just didn't spot it. It was far enough away. I can only see 2 squares at a time, as we've discussed in previous videos. It doesn't like my pawn getting here. I thought it was pretty cool. But, I mean, I do have this right now, which comes with tempo against the queen. But not really, because takes is just as even, but the queen is now available to go here. So that doesn't actually work at all, I think. I thought queen there was really... pawn takes was really cool. Takes. Knight takes. Defends. Hmm. really see any tactical opportunities here for me. Does black have any? Maybe I should be worrying about defending something. There was this whole idea, but I don't think it works. What if I take with the rook? It seems worse. Because knight takes... I'm giving up a bigger piece. But it lets me keep the knight here. And then I have a queen lined up behind this pawn, I guess. They can take it and I get here, I guess. I don't know. What am I supposed to do? Didn't consider that. The pawn's defended by the rook. And this is interesting. This rook was kind of embarrassed all game. And this gets him partway to developing with tempo against the queen. I guess she goes here, apparently. What? Just throw away the pawn? What is this about? I mean, it's not throwing it away. You don't. The king doesn't want to be lured forward. Oh, the bishop is pinned. I see. That's why it has to be the king that does something. I'm really bad at noticing pins. So king here, pretty vulnerable. And it thinks this is the only move now. It drops the bishop, but you get like... Well, I was thinking you get a discovery with the knight against the king and checking the king and attacking the queen. But you actually don't, because you're in check. They get to take the bishop with check, and things are apparently still just fine. Hard to believe. Oh, we get this fork. That's cute. But they escape again. We finally pick this up. And we develop this battery against the king. I don't know how much of that I had to see to discover the move. Hmm. 35, not bad again. I think, though, the reason for that is that I dragged out the endgame for 100 years. Oh, bring me back to real life? Where was, Here was my last big mistake, yeah. So I kind of had this really long series where, you know, it was like, come on, man, you had mate in 30. Why did you, why didn't you just go for that? You dropped it. Now you're only plus 74. I don't know. So we were both like not making ideal moves. I guess I was kind of doing the right thing by getting my king over here. Move this pawn? What? What mate is that leading to? Here? Oh, I see. Keeping him... Yeah, so this was a square I was focused a lot on because I saw that if I had my king here, I could play rook here and like checkmate him that way. But I couldn't figure out how to make him stand still. Even once I took everything out. So it says at this point, go here. And if he comes out here, the idea is you waste a move with the rook. You know, here is also fine. He has to go back, and you checkmate him. But suppose he goes over here. I guess the idea is to get these pawns out of the way somehow, for some reason. Oh, or to trap him here. Check. Only one legal move. And then do nothing. He has to go here and check him there. Checkmate him, rather. Interesting. I couldn't figure out how to do it. It was like, it's easy to like trap a king with a rook and a king, but all these pawns were in my way. I didn't know like how to work around them. So I just made another piece and brought it in. And it took ages. But eventually I found a way to keep like giving checks. That's funny. They're like, why don't you go here? There's so many checkmates they can't even suggest my checkmate as an option. I mean, they could. You can turn up the number of lines given. I think there's only 3, right? There's only 3 maiden ones. Yeah. If we asked for 4 lines, it would be like, well, one of them is not checkmate. I don't know how to see what it suggests. But anyway, this is maiden 2. Okay, that's all for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.